Hello, and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM News, your source for the finest 2A propaganda brought to you by TNVC.com. Today we're going to kick this show off by talking about this new credit card vendor code everyone is losing their minds over. Here's a Business Insider article on it. In a win for gun control advocates, Visa, MasterCard, and American Express plan to start separately categorizing sales at gun stores.
Well, that is one way to say it.
Another way to say that would be crumbling financial institutions hasten transition to crypto. We're living in interesting times, folks. Robert A. Heinlein once said, political tags such as royalist, communist, democrat, populist, fascist, liberal, conservative, and so forth are never basic criteria. The human race divides politically into those who want people to be controlled and those who have no such desire. Most of human history has been this struggle between the people who want to do the controlling and the rest of us. And yeah, it isn't even remotely surprising to see aging financial institutions struggling to understand consumer preferences. Now, I don't mean to suggest this one move is the death blow that will tip markets in the favor of crypto, but the harder legacy banks try to control people, the more people will slip out from their grasp. But hey, I'm not here to wax philosophical. The bottom line is this is mostly pointless, except for very general market analysis, maybe. The new code is applied to whole merchants, not individual purchases. So Walmart gun sales won't be classified as guns, but if you buy peanuts from your local gun shop or a mountain bike from a pawn shop, it likely will be categorized as a gun sale. It is mostly useless, but the theory is if some asshole decided to put a bunch of guns and ammo on credit, the card companies could report him to LE for further investigation. And yeah, some of the losers who have mass unalived people in the past did buy guns and gear on credit, and if you're planning something like that, credit makes a lot of sense because you're not going to be around to worry about the bill. In practice, I think the signal to noise ratio would be too low to be effective for something like this, regardless of the glaring Fourth Amendment issues. Without a code to identify individual purchases, all they could really do is send the AFT to shake down someone who spends more than some arbitrary amount. I mean, maybe they could cut down some false positives slightly by only looking at purchases over a certain dollar amount from customers who have never bought from a gun-related merchant, but even then the whole thing would be a sieve. Some guy buys a tractor from Rural King, feds show up. But at the same time, you could just take a cash advance on the credit card or buy prepaid cards on credit. Or for that matter, if you're really only interested in buying guns so you can do bad things, you could buy a bunch of Pokemon cards off of eBay and sell them locally at a loss for cash. I just can't see any possible way this could be effective, even if we ignored the gross insult to our privacy. What do you folks think? Should local shops start accepting crypto and precious metals? Karen Bass is a U.S. representative from Californistan and is currently running for mayor of Los Angeles. She has an A+ rating from the Brady campaign and a flat 0% from the GOA and NRA, but like most control freaks, she is an absolute hypocrite. Karen, who vehemently opposes your right to choose your own adventure, wound up getting 2 guns stolen from her home recently. She claims they were safely and securely stored in a Brinks lockbox, and that the thief ignored cash, jewelry, and electronics in plain view. Now, some of the more jaded among you might find that story just a little suspicious, but it's worth noting that a lockbox, which isn't bolted down or cabled to something heavy, is really just a convenient carrying case. Karen says both pistols were registered to the state and she has never applied for a concealed carry permit. That part, at least, seems to be true. I checked the CCW list Attorney General Bonta published and her name is not on it. Not long ago, Karen claimed she felt 10 out of 10 would recommend regarding her safety in Los Angeles, but I assume we can expect this story to come up time and again as she advocates for safe storage laws in her campaign, conveniently ignoring the part where she claimed she had stored the guns safely. For decades, proponents on both sides of the issue of civilian disarmament have lacked solid data about defensive firearm use, but a recently published study solidly answers that question and plenty of others. Back in the early 90s, Dr. Gary Kleck published a study indicating there might be as many as 2 million defensive gun uses per year. His study received a great deal of criticism, but there wasn't any suitable alternative involving empirical data. Authoritarian enthusiasts usually point to an article published by The Trace, which conveniently appears as the top Google result for defensive gun uses, suggesting only 70,000 defensive gun uses per year. But The Trace is quite literally the propaganda arm of Everytown and is sponsored by oligarch Michael Bloomberg. It's not that what they printed is factually wrong, it's just they're only counting cases of justifiable homicide. So every case where a crime is stopped by threatening with a gun, or even cases where the bad guy was shot but not killed, are left uncounted. This new survey examines a larger sample size than ever before, polling almost 17,000 gun owners about defensive use of a firearm. About 1/3 of adults in the US own a gun, and about 1/3 of those people have used a firearm to defend themselves at least once. That figure extrapolates to about 1.7 million defensive uses per year, the overwhelming majority of which involve no shots fired. Over half of all gun owners say they carry sometimes, and more than 1/3 carry regularly. About 1/3 of all gun owners have owned a sport utility rifle. That's about 25 million people and 44 million rifles. I think it's safe to call that common use. And now, your moment of Zen.
Everything's gonna be fine.
Hey friend, do you like pews and pew-related things? Do you want to help us keep delivering you pure uncut American pew propaganda at the low price of free 99? We literally couldn't make this show if it weren't for the generous support of TNVC.com, purveyors of the finest non-GMO night vision devices handcrafted from fine Corinthian leather in the old world style. They also have mounts, lights, training, swag, and all sorts of other barrel-aged single malt gear to make you the bump of the night. And remember, if you aren't subscribed to our channel, you make puppies cry and Captain America's disappointed. I love you.